I'm Daryl Jones, Director of Research at Hedgeye, here with JT Taylor from our Washington office. We're going to talk about the election, what's happened this week, what's coming down the pike, and just some key issues that people are talking about right now. The first thing, JT, is walk us through the last couple days, particularly Tuesday, the outcomes from the primaries, et cetera.
Yeah, it's sort of Super Tuesday, part three,
Right.
with some big states and big delegates.
Winner take all states.
Yeah, winner take all states. Some winner take all states, some proportional states. First, it was announced just yesterday that Hillary Clinton won Missouri, so she had a clean sweep, and has sort of put behind a lot of the doubts about her campaign currently, and can start focusing on the general.
Yep.
The problem with Hillary Clinton is every time Bernie Sanders has a victory, she has to pivot back and
Right.
deal with Bernie Sanders instead of the
Looking forward.
Yeah, looking forward at the Republican nominee, which we'll get to in a second, which is
Yep.
Donald Trump. So there are a couple of states. Her demographic, if you will, has been a mix of white and African American voters.
Yep.
We are now going to move to a few states where there are whiter voters,
Yep.
and
she's had trouble with white males in particular.
white males
Yeah.
across the board. And so, don't be surprised if Bernie pulls another upset here. But her delegate count right now is too high. She is on a path to win the nomination,
Yep.
and Bernie can give her a few hiccups on the way. The difference between what the Democrats are doing right now and the Republicans are sort of with their circling firing squad is that Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton will sort of come together at the end of the primary and make peace. And it's good for her because he's energized a lot of their base, and she's going to need that base going into the fall.
Yep. And then what about the Republican side on this?
Yeah, on the Republican side, Trump had an opportunity to do a 6-state or 5-state sweep, I should say.
Yep.
John Kasich won his home state of Ohio, which was critical for him carrying on and sort of blocking Trump for the time being.
Yep.
But Trump is on a path to win the nomination. He does have to run, I think he has to win 54% of the remaining primaries.
Right.
We've got 2 upcoming primaries this week in Arizona and Utah. He's favored to win winner take all in Arizona. Utah might be a little tougher.
Yep.
There's a heavy Mormon population, and it's a caucus state.
Right.
And he has done less well in the caucus states than Ted Cruz and others. So Marco Rubio was knocked out of the race,
Yep.
and now it's again a 3-man race between Trump, Cruz, and John Kasich.
So there's kind of increased talk again of we've heard this every few weeks, but a third-party candidate, somebody coming in at the last minute at the convention like Paul Ryan. A lot of noise about that in the last 24 hours. What are your thoughts on that?
It's next to impossible for that to happen right now. You can't completely rule it out. As I said before, Trump is his own worst enemy, but his supporters aren't budging. But can he do something between now and the convention in Cleveland to derail himself? Yes, absolutely. But I don't think that Cruz or Kasich can stop him, nor the Republican Party for that matter. And if they do, then consequences will be felt in Cleveland in a very big way. And the third party could be Trump himself if he
Right.
decides to bolt from the
Republicans.
Republican Party.
Yeah.
But if there is a scenario going into the convention where Trump is just short of the 1237 that he needs to win the nomination, then there will be a first ballot, and then chaos could ensue on the second ballot,
Yep.
and someone else could emerge from there. But if he's very close to 1237, I don't see how they deny him the nomination.
It looks like it's probably going to be Clinton versus Trump in the general election. One thing that we talked about earlier is Trump polls very poorly versus Hillary versus the other candidates. Why is that? What's Trump's challenge? And then, how does this general election matchup look like?
Yeah, Trump is pulling some Democrats over. We saw that in Ohio.
Yep.
There were a number of registered Democrats that changed their registration the day of the primary to vote Republican and to vote for Trump. You will see that support, especially in the Rust Belt states. But I think that will be far offset by the constituencies he's alienated over the course of the last 6 months.
Right.
Women, in particular,
Latinos.
Again, as I think I've mentioned before, Hispanics are the fastest growing voting segment of the population, and there is evidence right now that the Democrats are out there identifying Hispanics, registering them, and getting them ramped up to vote. And again, you're going to also have, at some point, As I mentioned earlier, Clinton and Sanders making amends, and all of his support will come her way.
Go to
You'll have
Clinton.
sort of a
More
really
energized,
strong, more energized liberal, like the ultra-liberal base of the party will
Do you
get out
think,
there.
what about the scenario where Trump pivoted and became more of a centrist? He's often talked or alluded to the idea that what he's really doing is negotiating right now. He's taking a stance that's on the extreme, which has obviously helped him in the Republican primaries, but he shifts more towards the middle, pulls some of the people he's alienated back to him. Could he do that? Would that be effective, or is it all too late? I mean,
I don't see that. I mean, I think we talked earlier about how high his negatives are. So I think folks are looking at Trump right now as black or white, and I don't think he'll be able to move folks over to the good side, or his side, if you will. He's very polarizing, and you're seeing that in a number of his speeches and a number of his rallies. And I think people are making their minds up now. There is more attention on this primary, especially on the Republican side, than any other time in history. And as I think we talked about earlier, he's also received over just about $500 million in free publicity, I think,
free
media over the course of the last 6 months. That will continue. But do you think about that number and how sort of this image of Trump is cemented
in people's minds?
So how do you turn from that?
But the flip side of that, or the caveat to that, is Hillary Clinton's not the ideal candidate either.
No.
I mean, there are a lot of negatives there. I mean, Donald Trump's going to focus both bazookas on her, a lot of baggage as well. What is the next sort of 6 to 9 months going to look like in America? I mean, we have these, presumably it's going to be Trump. Well, Trump and Clinton really going after each other. So much negativity. It just feels like it's going to be a little depressing for the market, the economy. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, first we have to get through the conventions, which I think there's still a chance for the Republican side to blow up. Again, we're saying Trump is the favorite right now, and he truly is, but that's going to be ugly for the next 2 or 3 months.
Right.
But from July on in, you're absolutely right. It is going to be a bare-knuckled brawl between the two of them, and I don't see, I don't see any let up in the negative campaigning, the negative advertising. I think you're going to see record numbers of third-party issue advocacy races run, or advertisements run. You'll have the unions getting involved. You'll have all of the conservative media and the conservative think tanks and the conservative super PACs getting involved. It is going to be a sort of an epic battle from the right and the left, and I think numbers that we've never seen before.
Right. All right, I think that's a wrap for today. Just to sort of summarize what we've talked about, it's pretty clear that Hillary, absent something coming out of left field, is going to get the nomination on the Republican side. Trump seems to be the sure nominee, although it's less certain on the Republican side. And as you duly noted, Trump's biggest enemy at this point is probably Trump, and he's the guy that can sort of hurt his chances. But regardless, I think the next 5, 6 plus months heading into the general election, it's going to be a lot of volatility, especially around the conferences.
Yes.
So great. Thanks a lot, everybody.